My name is Frank. I'm a Bulldog. And if you think that a dog's life consists of endless games with a ball, treats, and gentle strokes, you're probably not familiar with what it's like to be left alone on New Year's Eve. Today, I'll tell you the story of how my owner left for the holidays, leaving me alone at the shelter, and how I tried to cope with the emptiness and loneliness by exploring the world around me and philosophizing about the dog's life. It was a cold winter day when my owner brought me to the shelter. Snow was falling in big flakes, covering the city with a white blanket. I felt the cold bite at my paws, but what worried me most was the expression on my owner's face. He looked anxious and a bit guilty. "Frank, buddy, I need to go away for the holidays. I promise I'll come back for you right after New Year's," he said, petting me on the head. His voice trembled, and I could sense that something was wrong. "Why can't I come with you?" I wanted to ask, but instead I just looked at him with my big, sad eyes. He handed the leash to the shelter worker and, without looking back, left. The door slammed shut, and I was left alone among unfamiliar smells and sounds. For the first time in my life, I felt abandoned. The shelter was a strange and unfamiliar place. Cages, dogs, unfamiliar people in uniforms. I heard barking, whining, and a mix of other noises that formed into one constant echo. In the cage next to me sat an elderly dachshund named Greta. "New here?" she asked in a hoarse voice without lifting her head. "Yeah," I sighed, lying down on the cold floor. "Don't worry, kid. We're all just passing through here." She tried to comfort me. "Passing through? Great word for those who don't know how long passing through can last," I replied sarcastically. "You're still young, Frank. Life's full of surprises," she said, closing her eyes. I turned away and looked out the window. Beyond the bars, I could see the snow continuing to fall, covering everything. I wonder what my owner is doing now. Maybe he's already sitting in a warm house, enjoying the holiday atmosphere, I thought. The first night I spent curled up on the hard floor. Sleep didn't come. I listened to the wind howling outside the window and thought about the warm bed at home. Why did he leave me here? Did I do something wrong? These thoughts wouldn't let me be. In the morning, I was woken by noise. The shelter workers began distributing food. The meal was simple and tasteless. "Now that's what I call a holiday feast," I thought sarcastically. Greta eagerly devoured her portion. "Eat up, you'll need the strength," she advised. "For what?" I asked, reluctantly approaching my bowl. "To survive this place," she answered, licking her face. After breakfast, we were taken for a walk in the shelter yard. It was a small enclosed space with a few trees and an old bench. Other dogs were running and playing, but I didn't feel like joining. I sat aside and watched them. "Hey, I'm Max. You new here?" A young border collie ran up to me. "Frank," I answered shortly. "Why so sad, Frank? It's a holiday today," he continued enthusiastically. "Holiday? For whom?" I sneered. "We're locked up here like unwanted things." "Don't be such a pessimist. Things will get better," he encouraged me. "Optimism is a great quality, Max. Too bad it doesn't always match reality," I replied, getting up and heading back to the building. The days passed one after another, and I started getting used to the shelter routine. But the feeling of loneliness and abandonment never left me. I often sat by the window looking out at the street. People hurried by, not noticing us. One evening, when everyone was asleep, I heard quiet crying. It was a little chihuahua named Lily. I walked up to her cage. "What happened?" I asked. "I'm scared and cold. I miss home," she sniffled. "I understand, but you're not alone. We're all in this together," I tried to comfort her. "Thank you, Frank. You're kind," she said, calming down. At that moment, I realized that I wasn't the only one feeling abandoned. We were all in the same boat here. The next day, the shelter workers decided to throw us a little celebration. They decorated the yard with garlands and set up a small tree. Music played, and some dogs began to have fun. "Look, Frank, this is awesome." Max ran up to me. "Yeah, not bad," I replied, though I still felt the emptiness inside. "Let's play ball," he suggested. "Why not?" I agreed, deciding to at least try to distract myself. We started running and playing, and for a while I really forgot about my sadness. But then I noticed one of the shelter workers, Anna, watching me with sadness in her eyes. "Poor Frank, he misses his owner so much," she said to another worker. "Yeah, I hope he really comes back for him," the other worker replied. Another wave of sorrow hit me. What if he doesn't come back? That thought tormented me. In the evening, I decided to explore the shelter. Maybe there would be something interesting to distract me. Walking down the halls, I came across an open door to the storage room. I wonder what's in there, I thought, glancing around and walking inside. It was dark, but I could make out the shapes of boxes and bags. On one shelf, I noticed a large box labeled Holiday Decorations. Curiosity took over. I opened the box and saw lots of colorful garlands and tinsel. Why not decorate our corner? The idea crossed my mind. I went back to the cages and called Lily and Max. Guys, I've got a plan. Let's make our corner a bit more festive, I suggested. That's a great idea, Lily cheered. But will they let us? Max asked doubtfully. Who doesn't risk doesn't drink champagne, I smiled. We quietly began hanging up the garlands and decorations. Other dogs, noticing what we were doing, joined in. Soon our hallway was glowing with bright lights. This is amazing, Lily marveled. Now it really feels like a holiday here, Max agreed. But the joy was short-lived. In the morning, the shelter workers discovered our little project. What's going on here? Anna asked in surprise, seeing the decorations. Who allowed you to take these things? Another worker asked sternly. We lowered our heads. Sorry, we just wanted to make the holiday, I said quietly. We appreciate your effort, but you can't take things without permission, Anna said more gently. But you know what? Let's leave it as it is. After all, New Year's is a time for miracles. That lifted our spirits. Maybe not everything was so bad. A few days passed and New Year's Eve arrived. The whole city was preparing for the celebration. We heard the sounds of music and laughter outside the shelter walls. I was sitting by the window again, watching the falling snow. Frank, are you okay? Greta approached me. Yeah, just thinking, I replied. About what? About life, how quickly everything changes. I was at home just recently and now I'm here. Life is a strange thing, but don't lose hope, she said, looking at me wisely. Sometimes it's hard, I sighed. You know, I've been here a long time, seen a lot, and I can tell you this, miracles happen when you least expect them. Her words made me think, maybe it's really worth believing. In the evening, the shelter workers decided to give us a special dinner. The food was tastier than usual, and they even gave us new toys. Look, this is for you, Anna happily announced, handing out gifts. I got a soft snowman toy. Thanks, I said, though I still felt the emptiness inside. Hey, Frank, let's play, Max called. Go ahead, have fun, Lily encouraged me. We started playing, and for a while I really forgot about my sadness. But then I heard the clock strike midnight. Happy New Year, people shouted outside the shelter walls. Happy New Year, I quietly said, looking up at the starry sky. Suddenly I saw a shooting star. I wish my owner would come back for me, I made a wish. At that moment, the shelter door opened, and in walked my owner. I couldn't believe my eyes. Frank, I'm sorry, buddy. I realized that holidays aren't holidays without you, he said, coming up to me. I ran to him, barking and wagging my tail. You're back, my heart shouted. Happy New Year, Anna smiled. Glad to see you again. Thank you, and happy holidays to you, he replied. I realized I made a mistake leaving him here. It won't happen again. We left the shelter, and the cold air burned my lungs, but I felt happy. The snow kept falling, and everything around seemed magical. Let's take a walk before we go home, my owner suggested. We walked through the deserted streets of the city. The lights of the garlands lit our way, and in the distance, echoes of the celebration could be heard. You know, Frank, I've realized that you're an integral part of my life. Without you, everything feels empty, he confessed. I licked his hand in agreement. Here, hold this, he said, pulling a new collar with a heart-shaped tag from his pocket. Now you'll always be with me. We returned home and everything was as I remembered. The warm fireplace, the soft bed, and the bowl with my favorite food. Welcome home, buddy, he said, sitting next to me. I lay down at his feet, feeling warmth and comfort. This is real happiness, I thought. This story taught me a lot. I realized that hope and faith can work miracles. Despite difficulties and disappointments, you can't give up. I'm grateful to my friends in the shelter who supported me, and to my owner who realized how important we are to each other. If you ever think of leaving your pet alone for the holidays, remember how much we miss and wait for you. For us, you are the whole world.